The courtroom was tense, filled with quiet whispers as people took their seats. The harsh buzz of the fluorescent lights filled the room, casting a cold glow over the wooden benches. At the front sat the judge, an older man with graying hair and tired eyes. Officer Bradley Carter adjusted his tie and rolled back his shoulders, carrying himself like a man who had done this many times before. He was confident this was routine for him. He'd stood in this same room countless times, his testimony often enough to sway the judge and jury. After all, he wore the badge and held the authority. Across the room, Monica James sat at the defendant's table. Her navy blue suit was sharp, her posture stiff and precise. Her deep brown skin contrasted with the bright white collar of her shirt, but it was her eyes that caught attention, steady, unflinching, as if she already knew the story's ending. Officer Carter barely glanced her way. To him, she was just another defendant trying to dodge the law. What he didn't know, and what no one expected, was that this trial would mark the biggest mistake of his career. The judge nodded to the prosecutor to begin. Carter stepped forward with practiced ease, his voice firm and sure. He recounted the events of June 14th, claiming Monica had been pulled over for reckless driving. According to him, she was uncooperative, hostile, and refused to comply when asked to exit her vehicle. He insisted that because of her behavior, he had no choice but to detain her. The jury listened, taking in the officer's words as truth. This was the usual story, the officer's word against the accused. Monica said nothing, her hands folded calmly in her lap. When the judge asked if she had anything to say, she slowly stood and adjusted her blazer's cuffs. She stepped forward with a quiet confidence, a calm that came from knowing who she was and what she was about to reveal. She asked the judge if she could present some credentials. The prosecutor scoffed, but the judge nodded to let her continue. Monica reached into her bag and pulled out a black leather ID case. She handed it over, and when the judge opened it, his face changed. The weight of disbelief and respect settled over him. This wasn't just any defendant. Monica James was Lieutenant Commander Monica James, a high-ranking officer in the U.S. Navy SEALs. The courtroom fell silent. Carter's confident stance faltered. Monica told them about her 4 combat tours, classified missions, and the training that few could endure. She spoke of the oath she took, to protect and serve her country with every fiber of her being. And yet, here was an officer who had never met her, standing in court, lying under oath about her. She pulled out a USB drive containing dashcam footage from her vehicle that directly contradicted Carter's testimony. The footage showed her cooperating fully, providing ID when asked, while Carter's aggression escalated without cause. It even captured Carter mocking her after the arrest, laughing with another officer and doubting anyone would believe her over a cop. The judge watched the video, his expression darkening. The prosecutor quickly moved to dismiss all charges and called for an investigation into Carter's conduct. Carter's face drained of color as the gavel slammed down, sealing his fate. Officers came forward and escorted him out of the courtroom for the first time as the accused. Monica gathered her things and walked past him, calm but firm. "You thought you could intimidate me," she said quietly, "but next time, do your job with honesty." Carter said nothing. His career was over. The courtroom buzzed, not with doubt, but with respect. That day, justice wasn't just served, it was delivered with truth. And the world was reminded, never underestimate someone based on how they look. You never know who you're really facing. If this story moved you, please like, comment, and subscribe. Share where you're watching from and tell us about a time you surprised someone. Together, we shine a light on real courage and respect. Thanks for watching. The courtroom was still heavy with the weight of Monica's reveal. No one had expected this turn of events, least of all Officer Carter. The man who had so confidently told his story was now the one under scrutiny. As the judge called for order, the atmosphere shifted. The once quiet murmurs turned into low whispers of surprise and respect. Monica stood with a steady posture, her calm unshaken by the sudden change. She was more than just a defendant. She was a highly trained warrior who had spent years in service to her country. Yet here she was, facing false accusations from a man sworn to uphold the law. The judge adjusted his glasses, looking directly at Carter. "Officer Carter," he said, his voice firm but fair, "we will be investigating your conduct thoroughly. The evidence presented is serious and cannot be ignored." Carter's confident mask cracked. He swallowed hard, unable to find words to defend himself against the mounting proof. The jury watched silently, their eyes shifting between the two figures. One a defender of truth, the other a man whose credibility was crumbling. Monica's attorney requested a recess to prepare further evidence. As the courtroom emptied, whispers followed Monica like a shadow. People spoke of her with newfound admiration. This was no ordinary defendant. She had stood up with dignity, backed by hard evidence, and exposed a lie meant to destroy her. Outside the courtroom, Monica took a deep breath. She was used to pressure, to being underestimated, but this was different. This was a fight for justice, not only for herself, but for anyone who had ever been wronged by false claims. She was fighting not just a man, but a system that often favored those with power. Her phone buzzed with messages of support from friends and colleagues. She had become a symbol, a reminder that truth can't be silenced, no matter how loud the lies. But Monica knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. Officer Carter's false accusations had put her reputation on the line, and the fallout would reach far beyond this trial. Back inside, the prosecutor reviewed the dashcam footage again, noting every detail. It showed clearly that Monica had complied fully, remained respectful, and never acted hostile. The video dismantled the officer's story piece by piece. The judge's earlier stern gaze softened into something like determination. When court resumed, Monica was ready. She presented her military records, highlighting her service in the Navy SEALs. The room was silent as she explained her role in classified operations and the discipline it took to earn her rank. This was a woman who had faced danger head-on, yet here she was, being accused unfairly by someone who should have known better. One of the jurors, a middle-aged woman, whispered to her neighbor, "She carries herself like a soldier, not a criminal." The room seemed to lean closer to Monica's side with every word she spoke. The prosecutor, now firmly on Monica's side, called for a full investigation into Carter's actions. He reminded the court that law enforcement must be held to the highest standards, especially when their words can change lives. "Truth is the foundation of justice," he said, "and today we see what happens when that truth is twisted." Officer Carter, looking increasingly isolated, sat quietly. His earlier arrogance was replaced by a nervous silence. The evidence was overwhelming. His career, once secure, now hung by a thread. Monica's calm confidence was a stark contrast. She didn't gloat or celebrate. Instead, she focused on making sure the truth was clear for everyone in that room. She wanted to set an example, that integrity matters more than appearances or power. As the trial moved forward, the judge acknowledged the seriousness of the case. He promised a thorough review of all evidence and assured Monica that justice would be served. "This court stands for fairness and respect," he said, "and we will ensure those values are upheld." Monica's story became a lesson in courage, how one woman's strength and honesty could face down a false accusation and win. The courtroom had become more than a place of law. It had become a stage for truth to shine. Before the session ended, Monica looked around the room, her gaze steady. "Thank you," she said quietly, for seeing beyond what was assumed and for giving me a chance to show who I really am. The trial wasn't over yet, but the message was clear. Lies could be exposed and respect demanded. Monica was no longer just a defendant. She was a symbol of quiet power and resilience. As people filed out, many whispered about the bravery they had witnessed. Monica's story was spreading, inspiring others to stand firm when faced with injustice. If this story inspired you, please like, comment, and subscribe. Tell us about a time you stood your ground when others doubted you. Your story matters, and together we build a community where truth and respect always win. The courtroom buzzed quietly as the trial moved on, but Monica stayed focused. Every step she took was measured, every word carefully chosen. This wasn't just about clearing her name anymore. It was about shining a light on truth and respect, especially in places where power too often goes unchecked. Officer Carter sat stiffly, clearly feeling the pressure. His confident front had long since cracked, replaced by a growing sense of unease. The evidence against him was strong, and Monica's calm strength only made it worse for him. He was a man used to being believed without question, but here that was no longer the case. Monica's legal team called witnesses who spoke about her character, colleagues from the Navy, friends who knew her as a person of integrity, and experts who explained the rigorous training and discipline it took to become a Navy SEAL. Each testimony added weight to her story, painting a picture of a woman who had earned respect through hard work and dedication. The prosecution also brought in experts who analyzed the dashcam footage and audio recordings. They pointed out every moment where Officer Carter's story didn't match the facts, how his behavior escalated without cause, and how his statements contradicted the video evidence. The courtroom listened, some shaking their heads in disbelief. Monica remained composed throughout, even when faced with harsh questions from the defense. Her answers were honest and clear, never defensive but always firm. It was clear to everyone that she had nothing to hide and everything to prove. Outside the courtroom, the community began to rally around Monica. Stories of her service and dedication spread on social media. People admired her courage, not just for standing up in court, but for the years she had quietly served her country while facing skepticism and bias. Many shared their own experiences of being underestimated or wrongly judged. Back inside, the judge reviewed every piece of evidence carefully. He asked tough questions, making sure the facts were clear and the truth was undeniable. His role was to make sure justice was done, not just for Monica, but for the integrity of the entire system. As the days passed, it became clear that this case was about more than one night or one officer's actions. It was about accountability. It was about respect for the law and the people it protects. Monica's story became a reminder that everyone deserves to be heard and believed, regardless of their background or appearance. Officer Carter's defense grew weaker. He avoided eye contact, his usual arrogance replaced by silence. The jury watched closely, noting the difference between the calm, steady Monica and the nervous officer. It was a powerful contrast that spoke louder than words. Monica knew the importance of this moment. She wasn't just fighting for herself. She was standing up for everyone who had ever been doubted or dismissed unfairly. Her military service had taught her resilience, and now that resilience was on full display. When it was finally time for closing statements, the prosecutor spoke passionately about truth and justice. He reminded the jury that the badge is a symbol of trust, and when that trust is broken, it affects us all. Monica's story was proof that integrity matters, no matter who you are or what you look like. The defense struggled to defend the indefensible. Their arguments felt weak against the weight of evidence and Monica's quiet strength. It was clear to everyone watching that this trial was heading toward one outcome: justice for Monica. As the jury left to deliberate, Monica took a deep breath. She had faced a tough battle, but she was ready for the result. Whatever happened, she knew she had stood her ground and told her truth. Outside, supporters waited to show their encouragement. They admired Monica not just as a skilled Navy SEAL, but as a person who refused to be broken by lies or prejudice. Her story had become a symbol of hope and courage for many. When the jury returned, the courtroom held its breath. The verdict was unanimous. Monica was innocent. The false charges were dropped, and Officer Carter's conduct was condemned. The decision sent a clear message that lies and abuse of power would not be tolerated. Monica stood tall, her eyes calm but proud. The courtroom erupted in quiet applause. This victory wasn't just hers. It belonged to everyone who believed in fairness and respect. If Monica's story moved you, please like, comment, and subscribe. Share your thoughts and experiences about standing up for what's right. Together, we can help create a world where truth always wins. The courtroom's atmosphere changed completely after the verdict. Monica's victory was more than just a legal win. It was a powerful statement against false accusations and prejudice. People in the room, once skeptical, now looked at her with respect and admiration. The judge's firm decision sent ripples beyond those walls, reminding everyone that truth and justice must prevail, no matter the challenge. Monica gathered her belongings calmly, her face showing no trace of arrogance, just quiet strength. She had faced a tough fight, standing alone against a man who misused his power. But she didn't just fight for herself. Her courage stood for all who had been doubted or judged unfairly because of their race, gender, or background. Outside the courthouse, supporters and the media awaited. Monica didn't seek the spotlight, but she understood the importance of her story being told. She spoke with honesty, reminding everyone that integrity and respect aren't just words, they are actions. This victory belongs to everyone who believes in fairness, she said, her voice steady and clear. The case against Officer Carter didn't end in the courtroom. Following the judge's order, an internal investigation into Carter's conduct was launched. It uncovered a pattern of dishonesty and abuse of power. The department took swift action, suspending Carter and starting the process to remove him from the force. Monica's bravery sparked conversations across communities about accountability in law enforcement. Many spoke about the need for change, for officers to be held to the highest standards, and for the voices of those wrongly accused to be heard. Monica's story was no longer just about her. It became part of a larger movement, demanding justice and equality. Though the battle had been exhausting, Monica remained focused on her mission. She continued her service, both in the military and in her community, dedicated to protecting others and promoting fairness. Her experience only strengthened her resolve to fight for what's right, no matter the obstacles. In interviews and talks, Monica emphasized the importance of standing firm when faced with injustice. "You have to know your worth and your truth," she said. "Don't let anyone silence you or make you doubt yourself." Her words inspired many who felt powerless or unheard. Monica also urged people to support one another, especially in difficult times. She stressed that change happens when individuals come together with courage and conviction. We all have a role in creating a world where respect and honesty come first, she reminded listeners. Her story traveled far beyond the courtroom. It became a lesson in resilience and the power of truth. Monica showed that no matter how tough the fight, integrity can overcome lies and prejudice. Her example encouraged others to speak up and demand justice. As time passed, Monica's case was studied in training programs, legal discussions, and community workshops. It highlighted the importance of video evidence, accountability, and the courage to challenge falsehoods. Monica's name became associated with strength and fairness. Through it all, Monica remained humble. She never sought praise or fame. Her focus was always on the greater good, on helping others and standing up for what is right. Her story was a reminder that real strength comes from character, not appearances or titles. If Monica's journey touched you, please like, comment, and subscribe. Share your thoughts on justice, respect, and standing up against wrongs. Your voice matters, and together we can keep telling stories that inspire change and hope. Thank you for watching, and remember, honesty and courage can change the world, one story at a time.